Hi, I'm Catherine, the creator of SHEA and the Jetsons Community Preservation of the Promised Land. Um, so yes, I like to talk about the attorney that I had wrote to, and so we're gonna start with that because we're gonna have to. Well, it's important for everyone to. Oh, and speaking of donations, thank you, thank you, thank you, Johnson, for donating $100. Thank you so much, Earl, um, that donated the 3 days ago. Thank you so much. Thank you for the donations. Okay, so let's start with the story about now. I would like for people to donate in other ways too as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to just send a simple email message to not a letter, not a letter at all. We're just going to say just support Catherine. Support Catherine. She already sent you all of the documents and she read us the letter of what you said that you were going to go ahead and look into see if you could take the case. So all you have to do is just send him a little email and saying, can you support Catherine? Because we support Catherine. So just, we support Catherine. Please take her case. Thank you very much. That's it. Yeah, like that. Like say, we support Catherine and yeah, we support Catherine. Please take her case. Something like that. Whatever you want to say. But anyway, I want to start with because when the lawyer takes my case, which he have to, what are we gonna do? We're just gonna have to take the case because it's just getting too ridiculous on the injustice of us. It's too ridiculous. It's just they're just out of pocket, out of line, and out of pocket. And anyway, so we're gonna start with Paul Revere to where the lawyer. It's very simple, and it's not like we're gonna sue. We're not filing a class action lawsuit. The type of class action lawsuit is just for him to announce the rules and regulation of the Promised Land. That's it. Just to announce the rules and regulation of the Promised Land. And ooh, somebody's calling me. But okay. But anyway, so just that's it. Just to announce that, and it's going to be based on Paul Revere's story. Okay, so let's see Paul Revere's story. Listen. So now, what if we do go to court? We don't need to take any type of evidence, no paperwork or anything. Trust me, because what I would like is for the courts to present their documents. Where did you come from, judge? Because if the judge is going to preside over the approval of us getting the 640 acres, then it would have to be where we can't prove who we are because we already know who we are, and they already know who we are based on Paul Revere's story. So when the court, judge, and everyone, lawyer, attorney, all the attorneys both would have to read the story of Paul Revere and then case closed because it would be case closed because once they read it, then they'll understand how white people got here, who they are, and that none of them here can not only tell you what to do, but they have to pay you monthly rent tax for the monthly land taxes for the rest of our lives. So that's what it would come down to when you hear the story of Paul Revere, because first you have to know that Paul Revere and all of the white people in 1760, see, that's why you have to get this book. In 1765, they came here as criminals, okay, right? And then they murdered us too at the same time. So it's like no matter what they do, it's just criminal no matter where they turn. That's why we don't need any evidence to present in court. The judge itself would have to present to us, where are you from? Okay, well then we know where you're from. Here, read the story of Paul Revere, and then you're going to have to go ahead and announce, approve. Well, you don't have to approve anything because you just read the story of Paul Revere. That's all we need you to know. You just need to know the story of that. And then that way, it's real simple. You don't, because every white person that came here in shackles as criminals. Do you understand? So if you came here and if your great grandparents came here as criminals in shackles, right here in the book, when the British brought them here, they brought them here as criminals. So you have to uh, proceed on what is written of what you wrote. When you came here, Paul Revere was letting everybody know that the British was coming to execute every last one of them because they were supposed to bring the white people here and then kill them here. And they were getting word. That's why Paul Revere was saying, the British were coming, but it wasn't just him and it wasn't loud. But what is interesting is that he never even said that the British were coming very loudly like that. It was hush hush. And all of the townspeople were warning everybody to arm up against the British that were going to come and kill them because they had to. Remember now, every queen that has made a movie here, when you make, like, I guess Hollywood make Queen, that lizard woman, in the 18th century, the Queen Elizabeth woman, lizard lady, she always says, or they over there in England always says, if you don't behave yourself, we're going to dump you over to the Americas. That's what they were doing. They were dumping their worst over here. Right? Okay. Well, when they do that, they would have to kill them here too. That's what they did to get rid of the, eugenics problem that they had. Okay. That's what Paul Revere was doing. He was, okay, so that's why we don't need to have any paperwork when we come there. It's case closed. The court, judge itself, the lawyers, the prosecutor, whatever, would have to proceed with my attorney laying down the law of what it is. And the law is that 640 acres is to each black person. And that on the land of each black person, each business owes monthly tax payment for the rest of our lives. And that's what it is. And so that's why it'll be real easy with this court, with our crossing over to the promised land. It's just real simple. The lawyer would have to just announce the rules and regulation of the promised land. Is that the promised land is this way, and what's this way and that way. Wherever you live, wherever I live, it's 640 acres on me. So what's on my land? Oh, there's a prison over there, men's prison. There's a women's prison. There's stores. So all of these airports. There's an airport here and an airport in Ontario, and there's of course gyms and Starbucks and stores everywhere. Well, all of these businesses owes me monthly tax payments. That's the rules. Because 640 acres is yours, you got to get. I mean, it's tax payments, it's land. Because the services is on your great grandparents' area, and all of the white people come from Paul Revere. Case closed. You came as criminals, so you were supposed to not be here. So the fact that you're in office, you're going to have to do exactly as we say.
And you shall hear of the midnight ride of Paul Revere. On the 18th of April in 75, hardly a man is now alive who remembers that famous day near. He said to his friend, if the British march by land or sea from the town to right, hang a lantern aloft in the belfry arch of the north church tower as a signal light, one if by land and two if by sea, and I on the opposite shore will be, ready to ride and spread the alarm through every Middlesex village and farm, for the country folk to be up and armed. That is the first few lines of the famous poem Paul Revere's Ride, and many of you have had that poem drilled into your heads by your teachers. Now, maybe you didn't know about the poem, but basically what I just said is what you've been taught most of your lives. Pretty much ever since elementary school, when they tell you about Paul Revere, that's pretty much how they tell it to you. But how much of this is actually true? Is that really the story? Well, No, no, it's not. Unfortunately, what you've been taught ever since you were little is not really how that night completely went. Many of you have grown up not even really knowing that that isn't true. So I'm going to tell you the true story of the ride of Paul Revere. First off, at least it gets the date right. This does happen April 18th, 1775. And they were told to light a lantern in the bell tower of the Old North Church, that if the British do end up showing up and are coming to attack, to light a lantern, one if by land and two if by sea. And the people would be sent out to nearby territories to warn everyone that they're coming so that they can get ready to fight. However, Paul Revere wasn't even able to see the lanterns. Yeah, the one if by land or two if by sea was seen instead by a man named Dr. Joseph Warren. And when he saw the lanterns, he sent a man named William Doss to go and warn people, not Paul Revere. So William Doss set out and started warning people. Paul Revere didn't get started until later. So when they rode and began to warn people of the impending attack, they didn't ride around also shouting, "The British are coming, the British are coming." Because at that time, the colonies were British, and so most of the people considered themselves to be British citizens. More than likely, they would have said, "The regulars are coming," which a regular is what was known as a British soldier. Then, as a matter of fact, he didn't even shout the British were coming or the regulars were coming. If they did that, they would have been arrested, for they were surrounded by British soldiers throughout the territory. So this was more of a stealth mission. More than anything else, they would have been very quiet, rode to nearby towns, villages, and to just people within Lexington and Concord, gone more like door to door. It's been like, "The regulars are coming, the regulars are coming." And the people would have understood at that point and then gotten ready for war. Now, that's also not the only two people, William Doss and Paul Revere, who rode and warned people. There was also a man named Samuel Prescott. Because, see, something else that is oftentimes left out of the history books about Paul Revere is that as him and Doss were leaving Lexington, they were arrested before they could go to Concord. And so another man was sent out, a man named Samuel Prescott. He rode on and began to warn the people of Concord. But after people in Lexington were warned, many others took to their horses and rode to warn other people. So besides Paul Revere, more importantly, we should also tell the story of William Doss and Samuel Prescott. Many other writers' names are lost to history, but those three people, not just Paul Revere, should easily be remembered for what they've done. Both of William Doss and Samuel Prescott definitely deserve their own stories, their own poems about this amazing night. Now, does this mean that Paul Revere shouldn't be remembered? Well, no, not necessarily. Paul Revere did do a midnight ride. It just didn't happen the way that we've been told. That poem is what everyone believes to be historical fact, and has since become as historically accurate as anyone can imagine. All that really matters is to make sure that the truth comes out first, for that is the most important thing. So that is the true story of the midnight ride of Paul Revere.
Okay, now, what the question is that what who, why are you telling your people What you why you telling your people that the British was coming? I'm just curious. Yeah, see the court the judge would have to well we would present exactly why Paul Revere was letting all of the white people that came here in this time because this is the time that they came over here. Not all of them. They started to come over here around this time, but then they started flooding in around 1800s when the treaties started to come because remember this is not their land. So they were going to black people with their treaty papers, in which Hitler wasn't talking about no treaty, but black people were. See, we stood here and was talking about treaties and let them just talk. But anyway, um, so Paul Revere came at this time and was letting people, their people know that the British were coming to kill them. Remember, because he said it. He said they're going to be ready for war. They have to come back. They have to go back, or they have they. I don't even think that they went there to bring them back to England. Because why would they? They went to get more troops to kill them because that's what they did. They didn't, I mean, for an example, what was not Hitler, but the other one that they didn't like, the one with the hoofed feet, um, that killed 40 million of his own people, starved them right out. Not Lenin, but it had happened in Leningrad. What's his name? I'll think of it later. But anyway, I mentioned it anyway. But he they raised pigs like thousands and thousands of pigs to they even put the hog on a mantle like and gave it an award because they would um they would raise hogs and hogs go through bone like butter. They go through a man's bone like butter, by eating them or whatever. So they would get rid of their people that way too. I'm just saying. By the by the millions, they would feed the people to the hogs, and they would raise thousands and thousands of hogs in Russia. But anyway, so but what I'm saying is that the point I'm trying to make is that what was he? What was all of the townsfolk warning everybody about? Because the British were coming to take them back. Why? Because they were criminals. Now, Komuro, um, when we go to, oh, goes my videos. When we go to, okay, here it is, right? Oh, here it is. This one. Oh, nope. Oh, there goes, Gambino. Okay, it was, Gambino. Okay. Okay, so no, we're gonna, no, it's, this is what we want to see here. This video right here. Now, now, I'm gonna leave a link, but you have to see that that um that the indentured slaves are
Can you give a bit?
okay. Now the indentured slaves are white people. I do not own any copy. I do not own this video. I'm just showing this for awareness purposes and educational purposes. So I'm gonna leave
Hey,
a
Shalom, Pura Vida family. Yeah, finally another video. Yeah, I miss uploading and being able to driving up with you guys and learning together and reading all these books. It's crazy. The more I research, the more I see how they really really flip the script on us. Like everything. You know, in this video, in this case, we're talking about what we think about slavery and how they got us on this roots spell. This fictional Alex
did you
Haley's
see
fictional
that? That was in
plagiarized
California. Did
story,
you see that picture?
right? We
Man.
got to break those spells, break those chains. In my past series, From Indigenous American to African American, I showed and discussed how slavery, it was really started with indentured servitude, indentured service, you know, contracts for your service for a term of years. So we're going to get into that again a little bit just to refresh what it is. But we're also going to discuss, something that is overlooked and something that is never really, thoroughly taught in our schools and colleges.
Did you see that
And it's
picture?
regarding indentured servitude. And
Did you see white servitude in the colonies of Virginia? Because the white people were the slaves. And did you see how uh, the black Indians had their hand on the shoulder of the white people sitting down because the white people sitting down was the slaves.
most importantly,
See 13 series on in
importantly,
13 colonies. So in all of okay, so these people that came here, all of these white people that came here were slaves. They were slaves to the British, and then when they came here, they became our slaves.
this was, a key to the establishment and the creation of the American colonies, the free labor of this
See,
indentured
a
service.
slave white man
And we're gonna really talk about
in Louisiana.
who really was the first indentured servants. Who really were the first indentured servants? Who they really bringing over here? All right, we're just gonna be talking about so-called white servants or white slaves. Yes, white slaves. Oh, you thought it was the Africans they were bringing over here to work? Trust me, man. They flipped the script on us.
Why did you select Levittown to live?
We were looking for a place to buy a home. We looked at Levittown, and we liked the homes here. We liked the advantages that Levittown seemed to offer in comparison to other cities. And we understood that it was going to be all right. We were very happy to buy a home here.
Do you think a Negro family moving here will affect the community as a whole?
Definitely.
In what way?
I think that, well, the property values will immediately go down if they're allowed to move in here in any numbers.
Can you give a basis for that judgment?
Yes, we used to live in Washington, D.C., and we saw a very good example of that there.
Yeah, free Negro family, huh? So who's the free Negro? Who's the Negro? This is an Iroquois, Aboriginal, original of this land, indigenous, American Indian. These three fellows are from the Shinnecock tribe in New York.
Oh, that's the Shinnecock. That's ODB. That's ODB.
Shinnecock, same tribe, all dirty bastards, ancestors from. Alright, to his mom's side. Got that already. This is Catawba. American Indian. Alright, shout out to Anu. This is one of his ancestors. Alright. We got an Ayamara Indian, all the way in Bolivia and Peru. And we got a Seminole. Who's the so-called Negro? Huh? We got the Chickahominy tribe. Alright? Chickahominy. This from the archives. This ain't no Photoshop.
Tonight we have as a guest Michael Hoffman II, an author of 4 books, numerous newsletters. He's also a researcher. Mike Hoffman, you have written a controversial book about they were white and they were slaves. How did you come to write this book?
Well, originally I came across a book on white servitude in Virginia by a man named J.C. Bala, and I became very intrigued by his idea that white servitude was not limited to this juvenile kind of sophomoric notion that's pushed in high school, that persons of white background who were put into so-called indentured servitude had a very privileged type of bondage, and that that bondage was very temporary, and then it was ended after a period of 4 or 7 years, and they re-entered the ruling class and went about the job of exploiting black people. J.C. Bala, it's a very thin book of about 100 pages, I believe, raise the point that there were some aspects of white servitude that were consonant with slavery. There were some aspects of white servitude that were consonant with slavery.
All right, we're in part 6.
Gotcha. See,
From Indigenous American to...
the thing about that is that, you know, when we present this to, you know, well, you know, we'd have to present it to the, well, I already did present it to the lawyer. That's what's in, the questions was asked that we can't file a class action lawsuit or anything to the judge. The judge have to actually just answer the question. That's all. He just have to answer the question that who was Paul Revere? Who was he? He was an indentured slave. Who was his slave owner? And they have that. We have that information that the slave owners that owned them were the Moors and us, because we were already here, and so the Moors would have to make a deal with us in order for them to come here. So there were our slaves. So that's what the judge would have to, you know, present to us so that we can just announce the rules and regulations that they owe the, you know, we're not putting nobody out. It's just that every business that we see here owes us monthly land taxes, and that 7 to 13 different promised land areas would be built in your area, in the most beautiful areas that you choose, because, well, you know, people are that are in office are not supposed to be, because they're criminals, and they're supposed to, you know, basically